Today, I want to talk about something that honestly I don't think our photography industry, or mainly any industries out there, talk about enough. It's silently the driver of the industry as a whole and why clients say yes or no to many different photographers. There are a lot of photographers out there who they have incredible photos, they have a beautiful website, they have the years of experience, they have all the things that would seem to create a successful photography business, but a lot of times they still struggle to get booked because of this one important factor, that at the end of the day, people are choosing based on how they feel about you. That is what I want to talk about, is how do people feel around you? How is your personality interacting with people? What is your character like? What is your social interaction, social charisma? What are your social skills? Because that, transcending just your work, transcending how much experience you have, is what I believe is going to drive so much of whether a client says yes or no to you. Okay. I want to start off with this whole idea that I posted this week, actually, and it kind of triggered me to record this episode. And it was this business coach. His name is Dan Henry. And he posted something where he basically said, hey, if you are, let's say, if you have a pregnant wife, okay, and you have a pregnant wife and you go in to see multiple different doctors or multiple different midwives who you think, okay, one of these people are going to deliver my baby, deliver my wife's baby, right? And so he said, if you're going to have one specific doctor, one specific midwife who your wife feels very comfortable around them, and then let's say the other ones maybe have more credentials, more experience per se, but your wife does not feel comfortable around them, personally speaking, personality traits, social skills, bedside manner, all the different things. Who's your wife going to choose? Who's your wife going to say, you know what, babe, I want that doctor. I want that midwife over all the rest of them. It's going to be the doctor or the midwife who that woman feels most comfortable with at the end of the day, because this is an important life moment. You can't redo this life moment. This is going to be vulnerable. This is going to be very transparent. Like there's a lot that's involved in that process, not to mention that it's a scary process a lot of the time, not to mention that it's highly personal. Can't redo it. And in that same vein, I think there's a huge message here for photographers that we are doing in a similar way. We are handling important life moments for people, whether it's their wedding day, whether it's their family photos, whether it's a large life monumental event that's happening in their life. I don't care what it is. We're the ones who are handlers of these moments. And I do think people are going to choose the photographers, by and large, who they feel most comfortable with. Personally speaking, yes. Not just how beautiful your website looks, even though that's important. Not just how beautiful your photos look, even though that's important too. Not just how much experience you have, even though that's important too. But I do think at the end of the day, the driving factor where the majority of the favor is going to come from is how well someone likes you as a person and gets along with you as a person and feels comfortable around you. Okay. You have to remember, we are at their wedding. We are around their family. They're inviting us into their inner circle, into their vulnerable spaces, around their peers, around people they want to impress, around their family, like into really personal matters. And these aren't redoable moments of their life, right? So because of that, they're choosing the photographer that I truly believe they feel best with. So if that is all true, then the real question becomes, how can you grow in this? Can you grow in this? And that leads me to the first thing I want to talk about today, which is that you can grow your personality. You can grow who you are as a human being. Okay? I think one of the biggest lies people believe in this self-absorbed, like, just be yourself crazed culture, that can pendulum swing into, this is just who I am and I'm stuck. I am awkward and therefore I am stuck being awkward. I am currently introverted and therefore I'm stuck being introverted forever. I am not a people person at my core. I don't feel like I love to be around people all the time and therefore I can't be around people successfully. I don't buy that. I truly don't buy that. You can change. You can grow. You can get better at this. Your brain will adapt. You have to remember our brains are very near, they're elastic, okay? They're neuroplastic. If you look up so much brain science that's coming out today, it shows how flexible our brains are and how much they can morph and how much they can grow and transform. By the way, the Bible has been saying this for centuries. The fact that we renew our minds are renewed. Okay. That's been a biblical truth that's been around for so long. And now science is just backing it up. Okay. Who you are is not fixed. Not at all. You know, if I can share a little bit about my story, I used to feel very introverted, far more introverted than I am now. I used to feel very awkward socially. There was this one time where I remember I was transitioning to high school from being homeschooled during my junior high years. And I was like the homeschool introverted, awkward kid. And I remember because my sister went to that high school, I was kind of in and around that high school before I actually attended there. So like people would see me there. And so then when I actually attended there for my freshman year, some of the friends that I had made there, they were like, Nate, we never told you this, but like years ago, like or a year ago even, when we would see you around, like you were so awkward. Like we would try to talk to you and you wouldn't even talk back to us. Like you would just like move on with whatever you were doing and you wouldn't say anything back. And it was really, really uncomfortable. Like you were so awkward, dude. And so like, just know going into all of this, that you are hearing from Nathan Chansky, who is like grade A introvert at my core. Okay. And I used to be the awkward homeschooled kid, like that guy. All right. So this is not coming from some big extroverted, larger than life sanguine personality. No, like I, at my core, am very introverted, very socially awkward. But over time, you know what? That shifted. And I was able to get outside of my comfort zone. And it's not just that something magical happened. It's not that I was like, oh my word, one day I woke up and I was like this. No, it was a lot of different points of learning and growing. But all this to say, I need you to understand and believe before we go any further into this episode that you can grow in this area. Your brain is neuroplastic. You are not stuck being one thing. And by the way, just FYI, little caveat, this is not an episode about how all the introverts need to become extroverts. Absolutely not. There's some extroverts out there who need to shut up sometimes. There's some extroverts out there who need to like focus more and chill out and not be so spread thin and have more intimate friend groups rather than like so many thin friend groups. Okay. So I'm just saying it's not that just introverts need to grow here. Extroverts also need to grow here as well. And so this is not just introverts are bad and need to become extroverts, just FYI. I love introverts, ambiverts, extroverts alike. And I think we all have areas in our life that we can grow. Okay. So point number 2 that I want to talk about is that growth is normal. Like if you think about it, you've already changed as a person over the course of your life. I firmly believe that our brains are malleable, like I said. And if they weren't, we'd all still be in diapers, screaming, crying for our food, throwing food across the table, not even speaking the language of wherever we're located. Like, no, that's not what happened. We learned how to communicate. We learned how to regulate ourselves. We learned how to interact with people. That all didn't happen by accident. Okay. We learned, we matured, we grew. And guess what? That's your personality. Your personality has been developing your whole life. It's been shaped by the experiences and the ways in which you have made yourself more of an effective human being over the course of time. And guess what? That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Don't let anybody tell you that, oh, if you're more introverted, you have to stay introverted for the rest of your life or you're not being true to yourself. That is BS, you guys. That is so BS. You can be neuroplastic. You can change the different parts of yourself to make yourself more of an effective person in the area that God has called you in, okay? And I'm not here telling you have to become a completely different human being. God has created you and fashioned you to be who you are, not who someone else is. I firmly believe that as well. So it's a paradoxical truth in that we can grow and become a more capable version of ourselves and be neuroplastic and press into that, whilst at the same time not betraying, not tarnishing the beautiful creation that God has made us to be. It's like if you know of the parable of the talents, the parable of the talents is not that the guy who had one talent and buried his talent, it's not that he threw it away. No, that wasn't the offense. It was that he buried it. He didn't grow it. And that's how I think of our personality. We're given like a one talent as a personality, or two or five or whatever. And God calls us to grow it. Okay. So point 3 that I want to make here is how this actually happens. How you might be like, okay, Nate, how do I actually grow? How am I going to stretch myself, build my personality, build my social skills, build my charisma, because I don't feel like I'm a likable person as is. I don't feel like I feel like I'm socially awkward. How can I be helped? Okay. So let's talk about how this actually gets built. And I'm going to just give you a little bit of my story or a little bit of my experience with this. And the first part of this is just plain experience. It's just plain putting in the reps. I think this is probably the biggest way to grow your personality. Social confidence comes from being social. It comes from doing a thing over and over again. So, for example, when I was going to college in Pennsylvania, I thrust myself into this college in Pennsylvania. I didn't know a soul. That was the first time in my life I entered a context in a different state in which I knew nobody. There was nobody at the end of my day who I could like go back to and like hang out with and be like, man, that was a lot of extroverting today. It was like I had no friends unless I decided to be a friend. I had to put myself out there. I had to learn how to make friends with people I didn't know from Adam, right? No background with, nothing. When I first started in photography and did so many free shoots and did so many different joined so many opportunities where they were outside of my comfort zone, where I went up to random couples and I was like, hey, can you get in front of my camera? Like so many situations where I felt awkward in the moment. Or meeting a new couple, like you know how it goes when you first meet a new couple at a photo shoot and you're like, hey, and you don't know them yet. But you learn and you grow. And the more you do these types of things and these types of scenarios, the more you're better at it. The more you walk into a bridal suite with a room full of people that you don't know and a mother of the bride and mother of whoever, and you're just like, I don't know any of these people, but I'm about to, and I'm about to make them my friends. You know what I mean? And that in and of itself is putting in those reps. That's stretching you. That's growing you. And that is a good thing. And so I do think, again, the more you do these types of things, the more natural it becomes for you. If you put yourself into these environments where you naturally grow and you're not just like, I'm only going to hang out with my friends here. I'm only going to be by myself. I'm only going to stay home every night. You will grow. Okay. If you do those former things of like, I'm only going to stay within my little box, you won't grow. Okay. Because you're not flexing that muscle of your social skills. Your social skills are a muscle that needs to be flexed so it can grow. Second part of how I believe I've grown my personality. This sounds like I'm like boasting. I really am not trying to. I don't think my personality is like this perfect personality. I'm just saying, here's where I've grown. Number B, letter B, learning through education. So there is so much out there education-wise in our modern day and age that studies social skills, that studies charisma, that studies personality, that studies character traits. So for example, I talk about this book repeatedly. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it is one of the best books on all of this and how to literally win friends and influence people. If you implemented like half the book, you'd be 10 steps ahead of probably everybody in your little sphere of who you're competing against, truly. There's another book called Captivate. It's a recent one I've read by a woman named Vanessa Van Edwards. if you can do anything today after this episode, go follow Vanessa Van Edwards. Go to your Spotify or podcast, type in Vanessa Van Edwards, and just save all the interviews that she's ever done and listen to them. Truly, this woman is brilliant. She calls herself basically like a certified awkward person, but she has become one of the most winsome, effective communicators of our time. And she teaches you how to do it. And her book, Captivate, is so easy to read. It's so well communicated. And she has some subsequent books as well. So both of those books, two of my like top tier books and how I've learned to grow as a communicator, as an effective, socially skilled person. Listen to podcasts, listen to interviews of people. I mean, even on social media, if you type in some of this stuff, like how to develop your personality traits, if you go follow Vanessa Van Edwards, like some of her posts, you will tailor your algorithm to show you this stuff more. And this kind of stuff is all over social media, like how to be more of an effective personality and have more of an effective traits about yourself. Okay. You can really study personality in almost like the same way as you do how to take a camera, how to edit photos, right? Go look at YouTube. There's so much like charisma training. There's so much like even body language training, voice inflection training. It is wild. And I find it fascinating. Some people find it very alarming, and some people find it almost like, what would I say, aggressive, and oh, that's too much. Like, I don't want to change that part of myself. I find it fascinating. I believe my brain is neuroplastic, and I want to press into that. The last one I want to give you is look at the people in your own life who are people you want to emulate, people that you want to shape you, people who feel like they're expanding what you believe is possible for your personality. Get around those people. Get around strong communicators. Get around people who are socially confident. You will start to pick up on it. You will start to become like them. You will start to mirror them. You will start to grow into them to the point where you can get to a meeting and they're not anywhere to be seen, but you've been around them so much, you can like channel their energy. Seriously. And I think that the more you realize that what those people around you, what they're doing right, the more you can absorb that exact same success from what they have in their own life. And so I do think getting around those types of people, and by the way, if you are an introvert and you want to be more gutsy, you probably will be more attracted to extroverted people anyway. If you are an extrovert and you want to maybe be more carefully spoken, more empathetic, possibly, you're probably going to be drawn to people who are maybe more of those things. You're like, I'm not good at X, Y, and Z, and that's why I'm attracted to this person who does have X, Y, Z really well. And that's actually a healthy thing. I think that's why God created us for community. So get around the right people. Okay, so the last and main juicy point of this, and this goes back to, yes, be who you are, is use what you already have. Everybody has different strengths socially, just like the way God created them. And that's what I mean when I say like those talents that God has crafted into you. Let's say you're more outgoing. You might be energetic. You might be expressive, enthusiastic. Some people won't love that. That's okay. But a lot of people will. A lot of people will, and your people will. Okay. Let's say you're more reserved. You might be calm. You might be more grounded, thoughtful, empathetic. Guess what? There's people who value that too, who want that at their wedding day. Different people connect in different ways. That is a good thing. And so I want you to start noticing your strengths. What do people respond well to in you? Maybe you make people laugh. You have just a knack for making people laugh. Maybe you're witty. Maybe you make people feel comfortable. You're like an empath. Maybe you are someone who connects quickly. You communicate clearly. Whatever it is, like whatever those things are that kind of comes naturally, lean into those things. Refine those things. And if you're not sure at all, ask people you trust. Hey, John, my friend, what stands out to you about me? What do you feel like is my strength? Could you tell me? What do I do well with people? Like ask people you know, like, and trust who can actually speak into what those strengths are in you, and then push into those strengths. Build on it. Use it intentionally, okay? And so I want you to, in all of this, like bring it back to our businesses, right? Think about how much time goes into developing your photos, your editing skills, your gear. Imagine putting even a portion of that into your communication skills, your presence, how you interact with people. This makes a massive difference. And I will say, not only in your business, in your life overall, even what you do beyond this business. Okay. A lot of photographers work on their craft. Fewer work well on how well they show up. And if you do, it is a massive opportunity, and I do believe it will hugely set you apart. So just in closing, I want to reiterate, clients are inviting someone into meaningful moments with them, right? So of course, how you make them feel, given that, it matters. And you need to spend your time practicing, learning, putting yourself in new environments, paying attention to your strengths, and educating yourself and growing in these areas. The way people feel around you is a huge part of why they book you. And if you take that seriously, it will impact your business just as much as your portfolio does. And I think it will impact your business even more. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, and get out there and do it.